Welcome back, and potentially the order curse is back for at least one day, where you get a one win, one loss. Rusty, how are we
Hey,
feeling about Direwolves now?
yeah, I still think that Order played decently well. It was a slower game, again a lot slower than I'm used to, perhaps for a couple of these teams, and it has been for a little while this week. But yeah, I mean, Direwolves, they bounced back well considering their first game loss, so strong mental to be able to do so.
Yeah, and considering how that early game went, because I was listening to the cast and it kind of was pointed out, but there's a little bit more to it. Like, Order kept Aphelios in bottom lane because of the way New Herald interacts, right? So New Herald always splits gold between the jungle and whoever's hitting the turret. So it's actually not as good trade-wise as what Old Herald was, which only took the person that was near the turret. So if you leave your 80 carry bottom and they get 3 plates and the 80 carry top lane gets the whole turret, whilst the team goes up gold, the 80 carry in the bottom lane that only took 3 plates actually comes ahead in gold because you get 3 turret plates of solo gold. And that was used to get Aphelios quite a good item lead. But then Order just lost 2 dragon fights in a row. And obviously when you give over Soul, you give over Baron, that game's going to be pretty difficult to win.
That was really good analysis, but I was distracted trying to read the certificate behind you. What am I looking at there?
On that one?
Yeah.
So that's my black belt first dan certificate.
The black belt certificate behind me?
Yeah.
That certificate.
The second one on the left of it, if I went a little bit wide on my camera, is my second dan certificate. I actually don't know when my third and fourth dan are. I'd have to look for them.
So you've black belted 4 times?
Yeah, 3 or 4. I can't remember whether I actually ever did my fourth dan grading. But yeah, I was a Taekwondo instructor in a previous life at Nick Boy.
Were you really?
Yeah, it was my first job from probably 12 to 17, 18. I instructed Taekwondo.
That is an amazing fact. Now, I have a question. I did karate when I was younger, and I got up to brown belt.
Mm-hmm.
Does child's karate brown belt mean the same as adult karate brown belt?
So it depends what club you go to, because some clubs do split adult and children programs. The club I went to actually didn't. So like you would still have to break boards and stuff, even if they weren't as thick. So, I mean, if you were a black belt at my club, you were just a black belt.
I did break boards, but my club was in an alley. And I had to fight other alley kids, so I'm guessing that probably means something. All right, before we get into the 5th game of the evening, we did the 5 stack for the 5 league champs that you would want to be stuck in a lockdown with. Now it's time for the 5 stack for the 5 champs you don't want to be stuck in a lockdown with. Loving that music. Although, admittedly, how I would love the sick Viking break music that we have on the timer. Put that everywhere. That
gets me hyped for the cast.
Oh, so good. Okay, so we did the 5 that we love to be stuck with. To recap, that was
Yordles.
Where was it? Oh, did I delete it?
2 Yordles, a Yumi.
It was Vega,
and whatever you chose.
Poppy, Heimerdinger, Amumu, and Zoe.
I chose Amumu.
Oh wait, did I? No, we did. We ditched Amumu for Skimmy second pick. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now the 5 you don't want to be stuck in. Who we got?
Mundo.
Just because of the rage?
Well, he'll kill you.
Yeah,
It's a pretty big deal. You might want to avoid that.
It's generally anyone from Zorn, right? Because they're just all homicidal maniacs.
Yeah, true. It's like
Warwick, Mundo, Urgot.
Yeah. If they have purple in their splash art, you don't want them in your house.
I don't want Singed. I definitely don't want Singed, because can you imagine like somebody just like permanently letting off gas behind you? You just have a guts full, mate. Imagine you're on lockdown for 4 weeks and all you smell is just tainter. You're done. There's no amount of deodorant or shower product or whatever that's just going to clear that. You're going to be corrupted for life, scarred for life even.
Yeah, totally. I don't like the idea, the controversial choice of fizz. Fizz.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He
the
provides
place
so
would just
much sushi for everyone.
no, the place would be wet the entire time. I can't live like that. Like he's just flapping those damp little feet around the house, leaving
See, I was
tracks
going to go
everywhere.
with Bard. I don't want to
Explain.
live with Bard. So Bard is this like peace-loving imbecile, right? Who just collects chimes and plays his own little mini game. And Jenna is as close to a calm person as I could get without the person being too calm. And like, do you know when someone's so calm that it actually makes you angrier?
Yeah.
That would be my problem with Bard.
100%. He's the kind of guy that when you're having an argument with him, he would just go, "Just keep your voice calm. I'm
just
not
remember,
angry.
it's
Do I
me
look
and
angry?
you versus
you.
the problem."
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
I'd be like,
yeah, no, that's a very good
someone
pick.
too calm.
No,
not too calm, make me angry.
Like,
No, it's true.
Twitch or Bard. Like, if you had
I'd
to pick
rather
one,
live with Twitch. Twitch reminds me of Master Splinter. He might teach me how to be a Ninja
That's
Turtle.
nice.
you
That's
bloody
nice.
wake up gagging. My man stinks.
But don't you reckon after a
Nick,
month you would just be used to the smell at that point?
Yeah,
Like, it
and
would
Bard
just-
might
you know
have a
how-
magical
true.
journey into spawn private time. There's just so many downsides to Bard.
I don't like it. I do not like the sentence "spawn private time" as
I
well.
just
don't
read
like
books,
the fact
man.
that we just
Get your
heard
head
that.
out of the gutter.
Skimmy, you were saying something.
I was going to say you can't have Nocturne because that guy is just living mental illness. You know, paranoia, chains. He just locks you in place. You're constantly running away from your own fears. Then you have that on top of you as well.
Yep.
Yeah, you just be
Skimmy, it's
second-guessing
called
your entire
living
life.
with anxiety. I do it every day. I don't
I think
what is
No,
Nocturne
I do
going to do
too.
to me?
no, but like, can you imagine? Can you imagine that on top of what we already have? Like the world has enough of it, right? So we don't want any more because then you're just going to be bedridden even when you're not forced to from lockdown.
Trust me, if Nocturne turned out the lights or I had to listen to another world leader's address on coronavirus, I would 100% take Nocturne turning off the lights.
Yeah. No, I'm down with that. Before Paparus in the chat in the last seg said Twisted Fate is by far number one to be in lockdown with cards and teleports. Teleports obviously is why we pick Zoe, but I hate Twisted Fate, and the irrational reason I hate him is because he looks like one of those people who would not ever take his hat off inside. Like he would always be wearing the hat, and that would really trigger me. Like a month of just going, dude, we haven't seen the sun in 37 days. Take the hat off. I don't like that. I also don't like Zach. I think Zach, for the same reason as Fizz, I'm just a clean person. I don't want goop. I don't want water. I don't want green crap just like coating the stairs out on the deck. It's just no way to live. You don't want that.
What about Annie? She already burnt down one house and killed her family. I don't think I could die in a fire. I'm scared.
Interesting. Was she ever convicted for that?
Yeah, you want to speak
No, I think
about
she ran
anxiety.
away into the woods.
Because I'm wondering that like maybe there's some sort of suspicion, but like they go, well, we assume you didn't do it. I guess I'm saying that would she do it twice? Because if she did it twice, it confirms that she was responsible for the first one. And if she's not being held 100% responsible, then at this point it's like, well, maybe you did it, but we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But if she lives with the second person and burns down their house, there's no way they're going, oh yeah, that whole parent thing was an accident. You know what I'm saying?
Is that how you confirm crimes? Like, he did it once, but did he mean it? Was there malicious
Yeah.
intent? Let's just let him
Isn't
go
that-
and see if it happens again.
Isn't that not the law in New South Wales? Everyone can commit every crime once, and then if they do it again, then that's when you're in prison. I'm fairly certain that's what it is. All right, so there you go. Those are the gems that we don't want to be in lockdown with. Thank you very much to the 5-stack. It's time for, speaking of 5, game number 5. It is Mammoth versus Legacy.
And who
Mammoth
knows?
versus Legacy. What?
And who knows what's going to happen?
And who knows? I mean, not only has this been a day of upsets, but Mammoth have upset Legacy before, Rusty.
No. Did they? Gravitas
I mean-
upset Legacy, surely.
Oh. Actually,
What was that?
Let's have a look at who Mammoth beat.
Yeah, it was Gravitas that told them.
It was Gravitas who did that. Mammoth beat
Mammoth have beaten
Chiefs?
Gravitas and Avant. And now, of course, they won today.
Mammoth. Well, Mammoth,
Against
this is your
Pentiment.
chance to be able to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Rusty, But today is the day you don't want to be the favorite. Is this the day that Mammoth take down Chiefs?
Oh, they shouldn't.
Legacy?
They shouldn't. I'm making no predictions. It's not happening.
It's been banned, right? We've already discussed this. You're not allowed to make a
Predictions are
prediction.
bad.
I'm going to back it. I'm going to say this is a Mammoth game. All right, it's time to get into game number 5. It is Mammoth versus Legacy. I finally got it right out of the mouth once in this segment, and it's coming at you after the Macca's Jam Select.
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.
We are at the tail end of the opening day of Super Week. It's Legacy's first performance tonight, taking on Mammoth. Top of the table up against the bottom. But as we've already said, Rusty, predictions are banned. You would have a favourite right out the gate, but you don't want to jinx anything by any stretch of the imagination.
No, you don't. And I mean, let's be honest, it should be a Legacy win, but we have to see first of all how they draft and what things start to really shape up to be and what they start to look like. So right now, you take stock of the bans that we've had so far. There's a Twisted Fate ban from Tally, try to get rid of the 1-3-1 that Legacy have got going for themselves. So really trying to at least even the playing field through our first 3 bans.
Well, it's interesting, right, because this game in particular, in week 2 when these two teams met, still remains the quickest game in the split we've had so far. It finished in 21 minutes and 9 seconds, so slightly different times back then when teams were filling themselves out and establishing what their identity was and who they wanted to be with, but things have definitely evolved since. Obviously, we've now got Tally as their mid laner, and he's been secured in. And some different drafts. Yeah, this is going to be the first time we get to see the Yuumi played tonight. They played it before already. Have Legacy, and they've definitely shown that they are quite competent with it.
We've seen the Yuumi banned earlier today. So, and we've also seen the center banned in the exact same game. There's a lot of enchanters, a lot of heal supports that are pretty strong right now. But usually when they're not available, there'll be just hard and heavy tanks down there. So this makes you wonder what the rest of the draft will be. You've got the Ornn and the Wukong already taken away. Are there tanks that people would be willing to play in the top lane? Kwaku is very happy to sack that lane and just be a tank if necessary. But it could just be a very fragile game across the board with a bunch of healing and, high mechanics plays required to win.
Yeah, it could be indeed, and it's going to be the dream bot lane duo, I suppose, for a Yuumi play, able to hop on top of Ezreal and give him all the buffs and the mobility to get that poke online, make that laning phase just a little bit easier in their favour. But up against it will be the Misfortune and the Senna, as we've discussed already. So you've got strong AD carries buffed with some very high priority supports, which are being banned away for the most part. So coming into the second phase of the pick and ban, as you highlight, wonder if we are going to see a priority towards those tanks, and it starts with a set.
Yeah, set banned away. Makes you wonder as well. Kwaku's a pretty prolific Fiora player. Poppy does love himself some Poppy. Those things are possible, but Topu's also very well known for his champions like Aatrox, or something that can heal his way through his opponent's burst damage. And I think if we're going to say who has the deeper pockets when it comes to champions in top lane, I think Topu has a wider variety of successful champions that he can play. Kwaku maybe does still have some deep pockets up there.
We've seen him showcase the Fiora when it's viable as well, right? And able to run rampant on the game as a result. So be interesting to see what he's got prepared up his sleeve for this game. Definitely not getting bullied up as much as he has in the past. They are going to deny his Renekton as well, so a bit of a priority towards that. So we may actually be seeing that choke in his champion pool as you highlight.
Yeah, we might actually just get the 4th pick of an Aatrox here potentially out of Legacy as well. Because the thing that you have to remember is that it's 2 top laners playing in both solo lanes. So if you're going to go for that, pick and match up whatever it is for one of your solo laners that's good into the Silas, and then world's your oyster for what you want to play as that 5th champion. So you can see that it's not just Legacy banning away those flexible champions. It is actually Mammoth.
Well, read like a book, and there you have it, Rusty. The Aatrox is locked in place. GP was the final ban for Mammoth, and with that in mind, they are saving their final pick for Tally. That's not actually ever played a champion twice so far. He's played a different champion every single game, offering the team as a whole a whole lot of variation and customization really going into the pick and ban.
And you may get the Fiora this game from Mammoth, but it makes you wonder what is going to go jungle if they were going to do that. Is, you know what? There's the other option. We mentioned 2 champions that he can play. So there's your Poppy. The reason that I thought about the Fiora is I think it's like a Poppy, but with higher kill threat against someone like an Aatrox. You're still very good at diffusing an Aatrox. You're actually very good against a Yuumi and a Jarvan alike. So as a champion goes, having the steadfast presence, being able to ground people, Poppy has utility there. But it does mean that, once again, probably going to be a weaker side play style. Definitely just picked for the comp, where they needed a tank more than anything else.
Yeah, Leeson locked in as that final one there. So you got a lot of collapse potential. I mean, if you're looking at the center opening things up at the root, obviously the follow-up that can then pile drive in as a result afterwards is quite scary. Obviously chains as well as Sonic Wave from both the bruisers to jumping in, but it's not that hard, reliable engagement you'd get from the likes of perhaps a Jarvan, for instance, right? And that's going to be backed up now by a Vladimir. So a lot of damage amplification. I am terribly scared for when Raze and Isles begin their entertainment show.
Well, there's a couple of things to that, right? Like, going for the Vladimir as your 5th pick, if I was a Silas, I'd be very happy to see that. Because now I've got damage amplification on my own spells, and it's AoE healing that I'm going to be able to get. So being a bruiser just became a whole lot easier if you were lived. But if you're Kweku, it's a nightmare. You know, it's a champion that's ranged in top lane. It's a champion that's going to be able to sustain nicely, scales past you as well. And you've got this feeling of like, I do need armor for everyone else in the game, but I definitely need magic resistance for my lane. So it needs to build both resistance items. Maybe 2 items completed is when he actually gets a power spike for team fighting.
Yeah.
And so Legacy have 2 items worth of Vladimir farming, and you'd always rather have that, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, this is a pocket pick, so whether or not he's going to be that sacrificial lamb, as you highlighted, and just sort of sit back and say, look, I will be a factor in these team fights, come skirmishes, come objective control, so I don't necessarily need to win the lane. And instead, you know, do we turn our priority towards bot side? It's always been interesting to me seeing the matchup between the likes of a Senna and a Yuumi support, how in some terms people say it's free, you know, free stacks for the absolution to get geared on up. Yuumi not going to be that hard bully as, say, somebody else would be in that position, you know. Do you have a hot take on who should really come out on top there?
When it comes to Senna versus Yuumi, it always comes down to who the AD carries are more than who the supports are, right? When you think about the cooldowns on the spells that they have, you can't really hit the Yuumi, but anytime she tries to poke you, your heal is available on a very similar cooldown. So it does kind of just negate itself. The place that does get interesting is what actually goes with it. So if it's an Ezreal Yuumi that it is on one side of the map here for Legacy, almost impossible to get your souls off the champions to proc your Spell Thieves passive and to actually get those items up unless your AD carry is capable of stepping up, going forwards and being with you to be able to bully. Otherwise, you actually just get poked out and die even though you have heals there. So the answer is definitely just always look at the AD carries and think about how can I play that lane out.
It's going to be refreshing, I suppose, to continue this trend really for Tapoon and that top side of him playing more aggressive top laners. He has the highest participation on a Soraka, right? Which, despite the changes to try and make Soraka a non-factor in the top lane, they continued and obviously found great success with it. But you know, this is a guy with a very deep champion pool, and he's played so many different roles for this team to facilitate it. We've always talked about Babbitt being, the supporting style jungler. Tapoon is kind of like that final piece of the jigsaw to say, I will mold into whatever you need me to. And Ray's always been sort of like that talisman of like, I can carry, I can do the job. Just give me the sort of backup if need be. And I suppose the best resemblance of that would have to be, when they played last week against the Chiefs, they drafted a Kog'Maw composition with 3 bruises and a Lulu. Very much on the same page of like, we know what our identity is, we know how we all slot into this team, and we should be definitely the favorites going into this Mammoth matchup.
That's what makes Tapoon so scary to play against, though, right? Like, he'll play the Soraka, he'll play the Aatrox, he's had a Kennen and a Gnar game in there as well, and he's able to play those aggressive carries. This time it's going to be a Vladimir, so similar to the Kennen in play style, and that variability means that you never know what you're going to get. And then you put him on red side, which is where they were this game in draft, and he gets the last pick, and it's a flex fourth. And you just, if you're Quaker, you come into this draft and you're like, whatever it is, I'm not going to like it. It's going to be a bad time for me. And so I've picked for comp. And the last time that we've seen someone try and pick for comp against Legacy, Toppin played Soraka, run them over, and Babbitt was up there diving. And that was a Soraka against, I believe it was an Ornn from Chippies on Direwolves. And that was when Legacy beat Direwolves. So it's a very risky thing to do.
Yeah, and I think, you talk about preparation going into these games, and, the more factors that obviously come into effect, the harder it is as a coach, once again, as the staff, to really sort of drum up some ideas. The amount of factors, I'm sure you have a lot more experience on this to sort of share, but, when you're sort of trying to, cater for, okay, what are my teams, champions that they can play proficiently at a pro level? What is our identity that we're trying to achieve and instill in these guys to try and make sure that we can at least win with a strategy that worked, even if we take the loss, at least we went in with a clear idea rather than sort of running around like headless solo queue chickens. You come into this one and sort of highlighting the point with Tapoon about how much variation there is. Do you think that's really a factor that Mammoth have to take into consideration, or do they sort of go, we don't know what we're going to get with this guy, let's just play what we want and hope for the best?
Well, Mammoth's advantage is they have nothing to lose. They're week 9. Any win they get is just a good piece of experience for them. And so they should just be able to attack this and say, we know what Legacy are. We know what we need to do. It's a new patch. Let's try and find a way to beat them through that.
Well, we're going to jump to a quick break as we get ourselves geared up for this game. It's the 5th game. So don't go anywhere. Get yourself a drink, get a snack. We'll see you after this. Well, let's jump into it. It's the 5th game of the day as we enter the Rift with Mammoth taking on Legacy in a game that, on paper, looks rather one-sided, but in actuality, based on the momentum of how today's fared, could be the super weak curse there, Rusty.
And we're in unprecedented territory here, Skimmy. We're 5 games deep into the OPL, which never happens. This is usually NPL time. We're usually sitting back, playing some ARAMs, losing sometimes. But this is pro players on instead. So we're 5 games in, and we don't know what's going to happen. And that's even better. We've got pros that have replaced us for very good reason, because they should. Now we get to see how they perform on the Rift as 9 o'clock at night. Also going to be a little bit later for these guys than they're used to for playing pro games. But of course, you'd probably find them on the Rift every other day of the week at this time.
Yep, definitely wanting to stay up late and grind out that solo queue. It's going to be one of those situations, perhaps, where, if you're a viewer and you tune in regularly to see your little fix of MPL, us running it down in ARAM or perhaps playing some TFT, I'm sorry to disappoint you. You're not going to see the bronze gameplay today. You're actually going to see some really good players and going to get to maybe learn a thing or two, as we're going to see possibly, there's a hesitation there, but Mammoth were sniffing towards a red buff.
Ali was hunting them out, though, and he does actually spot them, so the invade's not going to happen. It was just the 2 of them, and it was a weak effort when you consider it. The second they saw Tally, they're like, well, we're not committing to this, as there was only 2 of them. And Alisin, at the end of the day, he's still able to clear the camps fine by himself with a W start as Artef.
Wow.
Basically does exactly what we said might happen if he pushes by himself into this lane, and just almost dies because he tries to get some Spell Thieves procs off.
That's so rough. You understand you're trying to hit level 2 first, you're trying to get a little bit greedy there to try and get the ball running with your souls, but you're going to have to burn through a fair few amount of pots to get yourself back into this one. And I suppose the first place I want to start here, Rusty, is, we've got the lane swap. Wake, you're going to match the melee matchup here in mid, and it's going to be Silas that takes to the Vladimir top.
Yeah, so one thing to consider is that Legacy, with their 5th pick, went for a champion that not only works with their composition, is a magic damage champion, because they already had the Aatrox and the Jarvan, but is a champion that does well into a Poppy. And so Mammoth, obviously knowing this, have decided to flip the lanes themselves. They put the Poppy in mid lane into the Aatrox, which is a decent matchup, always going to be fine, and then Silas into the Vladimir, who has a little bit more agency than someone like a Poppy would in that 1v1. And I like this a lot from Mammoth. This is one of those things that you don't often see. There was a lot of this actually last year, but you don't often see that this year. It's a nice way to negate what could be a bad matchup and still put yourself in good stead, getting those first 3 items or keeping a counter matchup as a counter.
We'll have to keep our eyes firmly fixated on where that ends up, as both junglers were in for a bot side clear. Going to see Babbitt now path towards top side again to carry on the power farming, if you will. And
that
has another idea in mind. Yeah, he's just looking for the scuttle. So it's just going to be a trade-off of both scuttles going down for both junglers.
Yeah, exactly. But it does also mean that, a ward has to be used by Lived, very freshly placed to make sure that Babbitt doesn't gank him. So they're aware that he's going to be crossing over, as Baz has already taken the bot side scuttle. And a little bit of time spent there by Babbitt to look. And, there isn't a jungle camp on this whole side of the map for him to take. It was just about securing that prio. And as long as he doesn't get a gank off, he's going to have to spend some extra time, once again, to run back to those camps, such as the Krugs and the respawn of the Raptors, where Baz is able to spend that farming.
These are 2 teams that are very far apart when it comes to the gold difference at 15 minutes. Mammoth have typically been down in their games around about 2k gold at the 15-minute mark. You parallel that with Legacy, who are definitely on the opposite end of that, always up by around about 1200. So it's going to be pretty much that David and Goliath situation of, one team at the top, one team at the bottom, but how that actually plays out based on our points earlier today, right? Of, these rankings are more and more becoming irrelevant based on sort of the on-day performance.
Yeah, teams seem to be improving rapidly, or, the chaos that is the OPL when we've moved to online just seems to be a space for upsets to exist. You saw that little skirmish just happening in mid lane. It was a bait attempt by both of Mammoth's members for a cannon minion. If Tally goes on this cannon, we're going, is what they would have said, and then he just somehow still got the cannon and survived with no gank there at all. Of course, you saw them sitting on a ward for quite some time, so playing with fire there, keeping him entertained was the mid laner of Legacy.
I don't think Liv's got that ward in the bush. That has to hurt. That has to really hurt when you see that. That's just my my bit of
Analytical
interjection
opinion.
to the cast. Yeah, there you go. That's me doing analyst work. That sucks. Okay, Rusty, take it away again.
Lots of pressure in bot lane still, though. You know, Artek, the early trade for health didn't matter too much. Both potions still had to be used by him. However, it's Mboma being out of mana that really starts to hurt them now. Yuumi, one of those champions that will run pretty aggressively at some point, and so does an Ezreal, but they'll want to go back on that tier timing potentially anyway. Maybe the Sheen, if their laning phase is going well and they want some kill threat. Because meanwhile, BABIP, pretty objective.
Yeah, what do you think about this? Obviously, because we know how strong Lee Sin is at taking it. He's opted to go topside and almost look to power farm to hit level 6. Do you think it's basically the fact that Mboma's out of mana and Artek's, very limited when it comes to sustain?
Yeah, there's definitely no threat of the bottom lane being there. I think it was just a free chance to take it. It's a nice little play from Kweku.
Oh, that's going to be a double flash burn almost seamlessly to ensure that final Q would not have done anything. Liv now looking to try and jump in. They're going to turn their attention on towards Tapoon. Sonic Wave does connect. He's forced to burn away. Ultimate for ultimate. Who is stronger? Liv's cosplay attempts. Not going to be enough to take down this man. Tapoon lives to fight another day.
Yeah, Bass thought he'd done the maths properly, but it wasn't going to be enough damage to secure the kill off that stolen Vladimir ultimate. But a nice little attempt there. Unfortunately, it was the chains that missed the bottom.
Oh, check out bot lane right now. Heal gets used. Barrier as well, making it very hard to try and get this kill secure. BABIP is on the way. He does have flash. He's going to use it to ensure that Flag and Drag connects. They still can't find the kill. One more Mystic Shot would do it. Oh.
That was
So
close.
dangerously close. We all just held our breath and waited for that cinematic moment, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, the wave's still going to crash here, though, and you can see that Mammoth want to stay for it. There's not a lot of mana there from Legacy, so it is risky to stay, but it's possible, as they did see the Jarvan finished that recall. There you go, that Ezreal Q missing. Could have actually been a kill if that had connected. That's how dangerous this position is.
Yep, Yuumi very strong, honestly weaving in those skill shots to keep you low and in critical range underneath your tower. Lots of vision went down to ensure that Lee Sin wasn't sniffing around, but he needs to keep his eye on mid lane right now because Kweku just found a very undesirable trade, if you even call it a trade, because health bars are completely opposite.
Yeah, so the one thing that Kweku does have going for him, and it's actually why I like that he's gone for what you would obviously call a bad trade, is that he has teleport, where Tally does not. Of course, that just gets cancelled, the recall there. But if Kweku comes back to lane and he's just traded aggressively, even if it's a bad trade, he comes back with full health, right? So he actually comes back with an advantage. But Tally does the correct thing, keeps him around in this lane and says, well, I have the advantage. Why would I let you recall for free? And it keeps him there to pressure a bit more on the next wave.
Gonna keep Kweku, as you say, locked in mid, and as that was going on, bot lane have rotated now to allow BABIP to secure this Rift Herald, get themselves some lane pressure, get some map control with the first rate control and Rift Herald as well. Gonna go for the full rotation, so we're not actually gonna see them go for the 8-minute rotate to start in a lane. We need to secure the objective and force the objective out of response. And that's BABIP just finding infinite value. First blood by Tally.
Yeah, Kweku stays an extra 700 waves. We saw a recall cancelled once already. He stays, and then he stays again, and then we pan to another wave, and we see that BABIP's taken Herald, and he's still mid lane, and you're left wondering why. Well, that's a punish that should happen from that situation. Unfortunately for him, he definitely overstays his welcome. Now lived. Needs to be careful here.
Yep, going to spot out BABIP on the hunt, looking to try and break open top lane with that Herald. They've done a great job, obviously, with the True Shot Barrage to prep that wave, but Liv is definitely not going to give this one up for free, buying a lot of time for Lee Sin to respond. He's going to force out the rotation from Tally as well. We'll make it a 4v2, but now Raze and Isles going to sacrifice the all-in attempt and just basically pick up some plates for themselves.
Yeah, they're going to continue to push that as well, right? You look at the other side of the map, Top Boon seems to be having a much more successful time dealing with a misfortune and a Senna who's just left to place a ward. There is kill threat. The Vladimir is here. It's a lot harder to be a Sylas against two poke champions than the Vladimir who can sit there and sustain. So this relative trade, you would always favor Legacy in this situation if it continues to stay as it is, but you can see a recall there from the Sylas. They should be flipping, they should be matching. It's not going to be the same as last game where turret plates will be taken in response. Instead, it's just Legacy coming out massively on top.
And they're going to get the Dream push in top lane there. Herald only mere moments away from getting the one shot as the 2 turret plates remained. And they're just going to continue running this down, looking for a second headbutt if they can find it. They can obviously clear things out here with the True Shot Barrage. And Bowman is there to respond and should make light work of this one. But they're still
he'll get there for the
long
second
lane.
charge. But I mean, you have to consider what happened during all that. It's not good for Mammoth. You know, this is a much more like refined team playing the back row against them in mid.
Shockwave. Oh, he tried to go for the Sonic Kick right there. He's going to find that kill regardless, despite a lot of things whiffing there. Quaku setting things up quite nicely for his jungler. And there's does force out the wall dash to get the kill secure.
You know, the good thing about the flash trade that happened earlier in mid lane is that Kweku would know the exact timer of Tally's flash. It's only up now as he is dead, as the timing was the exact same. Now Baz looking towards the Infernal, throws a Q at least to see if it's being done. If not threatened to start it, but Babbitt going to be hovering nearby to ensure that that's not going to be done anyway.
Now comes the
says
sweeper.
what Yumi
Vision
does.
control lived. It's just run into the wrong neighborhood. I tell you that much. 3 members say hello, and the damage is there. The root comes online. Senna with the cannon. It looks good. It doesn't do much when you have little to no souls this early on in the game. And I got very excited there, Rusty, but it didn't really mean much.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is still just Legacy one step ahead of their opponents almost at all times. They've got their measure right now. You know, they flip for Herald, they take it. There's no trade from Mammoth. They flip back for Drake timing. They get a kill. There's no trade from Mammoth. Now they're also going to get the Drake and pressure the bot lane turret because of the kill. I mean, they're just one step ahead at all times, if not two. And Mammoth, we're yet to really see a solid response from them. You know, one pick in mid lane, not going to be enough to keep them in this game.
Well, it's only getting scary right now. You know, 2 kills to 1. Gold lead is starting to really ramp up as the stats are projected. And you look at this roster of Legacy, and every single member has healing. You know, obviously Vladimir and Yumi have it built into their kits. Same with Aatrox. Jarvan and Ezreal are going to find it with their runes going Conqueror.
Yeah,
You're really looking.
Was...
You need healing cuts somewhere. Surely, please.
Yeah. I mean, now you mention it, yeah, every single champion's going to have a degree of healing, even with the Conqueror or Jarvan, but it seems the choice is going to be to go towards the, I think it's the Spectral Sickle, whatever it is, the support item that kills wards in one hit. You'd have to go Executioners after it. I think at this point, it is fair to say that if you don't go Executioners, yeah, if not now, but after that item, you would be griefing. It's like Senna is one of the best champions to actually rush the Executioners on as well. You know, as a champion, being an AD support is rare. Ranged AD support having global damage output as well. Like, you name it, Senna can apply the Executioners on it.
Should make these team fights now not as lopsided. And we'll have to keep an eye on how they decide to try and ramp up things here, having sacrificed both Drakes. If the next Herald that will be up in under a minute is where they decide to try and turn their attention towards. Still looking for that first completed item on Mboma's Misfortune. And obviously, it's the dream situation for a Ezreal combo with that cheaper item build.
Yeah, well, they've got a whole lot of extra plates. They've got the cheaper item build, like you mentioned. You know, like, Raze is going to be set up to succeed. And Raze and Isles as a duo are just going to be set up to succeed. Honestly, I think they're already too strong compared to their respective opponents, at least in the 2v2. Poppy's not going to be able to deal with Ezreal too greatly. It is a Sunfire Rush, so in terms of armor, has got immediate strength and can at least stand in front of the damage for a while. But I really worry. You know, we are only 14 minutes in, but I do really worry for the stead of Mammoth in this game.
Let's see how they keep the priority. We're going to see Silas now go for the reset back to base to get himself online. What items are you going to go towards? No, he's actually going to cancel that. Going to stick around a little bit longer here. Straight up in 2 minutes and 30. Now Rift Herald now having spawned, both looking just to traverse the map and hang on to their teleports.
I mean, that was one Ezreal Q, one Yumi Q connecting, and Boma's at half health. Babip's going to continue to hover mid lane. The Vladimir definitely someone that wants to teleport or group up if possible. So as long as he's surviving this pressure, then things are looking continuously better and better for Legacy. But Lived is actually just teleported.
Yeah, he's teleported in very aggressively right now. Going to force out the Yumi Shockwave as it comes across. I call it Shockwave because it's like Oriana just does so much to kind of control these team fights. The waves of damage come raining on down. Tally pops the world ends as he chases on in, looking for a dash, looking for a target. Down comes the hammer, knocking him away. He actually flashes in, and Tapoon question marks him, gets the double kill, and now they chase for more. Ray's looking for it, the skill shots land, and they don't make the same mistake as they did in bot lane before.
I mean, it's nasty, Skibby. This game is nasty. This, you say it's dire for Mammoth, and then suddenly this fight happens as well, and you're watching them mop up their opponents around the map, and it was Mammoth that teleported in. It was Mammoth that chose to take the fight that they put in front of them, and it was Mammoth that get bested pretty comprehensively in the end.
So much teamfight control that this team has to offer, and you mentioned that Silas would be a good flex pick in that regard, obviously able to steal away ultimates to try and help his team out. They haven't been able to find that at the situation, and you highlighted it correctly. This ADC combo is so insanely far ahead that Mboma is really having a rough time able to try and respond.
This is the best part of the game. Never mind, we'll see a replay. Isles is actually walking towards his team and realize the teleport was there, so immediately they'll re-engage onto Liv, and a Silas who is exhausted and has an Ezreal that is this fed running them down. Pretty easy stuff there for Raze to be able to at least win that trade. So the teleport wasn't a flank, unfortunately he became the front lines. And now it's just a Yumi and a Vladimir who uses the puddle wonderfully, and the rest of the team fight just wipes the floor.
Just watch how the rest of this clip goes. Yeah, barriers popped, everything to try and survive there. A lot of summoners to stick around and on full disengage mode, right? Definitely not looking to try and turn that fight around, not looking to try and wait for cooldowns to come back up and then flip the switch and say, that's it, we're turning. Full on disengage was the call, and getting very scary now. 5k gold difference.
Yeah, there was never really a moment in that last fight where you're like, this is where we draw the line. And I worry that that line is fading ever so quickly into the horizons as Legacy will continue to grow those leads and accelerate this game. And it's one of those games where Legacy get a lead and Ezreal and Yumi get a lead, and it feels bad. There's going to be no moment where you can really kill them unless your flank is fantastic, your teleport's good, or Bass pulls something amazing out. And anytime you try, probably going to take a lot of time. And that time is spent winning the rest of the game somewhere else. This is a Herald place bot lane while you're pressuring them for mid lane priority. They're also going to go for the mountain. You try and steal this, you probably just die, and they'll get more from it once again.
And obviously, Yumi has so many great targets to attach to really buff up what they're trying to achieve, not only from an engage potential, but from a sustaining potential too, right? So it's going to be interesting to know if these team fights continue in the same vein, how proactive Isles is to jump from member to member to get the maximum value out of that final chapter, keep members alive, and chase people down. That seems to be the most infuriating thing about Yumi. You try and disengage, he's always chasing you with those magic missiles.
As long as the Poppy isn't there, then Isles could be freely hopping between all of the players that he would like, right? And then he'll just become very much a nuisance that will be speeding up a Vladimir in the front line. And remember, it's not just the movement speed and the healing, it's the actual adaptive damage that they give as well. Like a Vladimir getting more AP as if he needs that. Same thing with an Ezreal getting more AD. It just feels like they're overloading when they're snowballing, and it's going to be very much overbearing when the next objectives start to spawn and the pressure builds around the map.
Well, that's really the true tale of this game so far, right? 2k gold lead in the top lane, 1k in the bottom lane, Ezreal online, and Tapoon. 2 gank attempts. They haven't worked for him when he's been here. Now Tally fares his attempt in a top side ward, and it comes online very early on. He's going for the 1v2. He's just
he's winning it.
People around. He is whacking them. He's giving them a run for their money. And he's just brought around, but they just turned this fight on its head, and that is beautiful.
Easy solo kill. Topoon just having a run of the mill, and okay, it's happening mid as well.
It's just happening everywhere. Legacy don't know when to put the brakes on. It's all about go, 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 destroy you in every single lane. Make sure that you can't respond, can't catch anything. We win micro, we win macro, and we take an ace.
They just ace them in 3 lanes.
Cool.
2 of them try and kill Tally. He's like, nah, puts the brakes on. Bot lane's a solo kill. And then the rest of Mammoth are like, well, when in Rome, we should probably take the rest of them as well on, and they die for it. That's going to be a Baron at 20 minutes. That's just Legacy are going to win the game very easily if they're this far ahead 20 minutes in, yet to even get a Baron.
Incredibly gross what we just witnessed there. Baron going to be achieved as you highlight. Win conditions are definitely online with the soul point up in 2 minutes 40. And the fact that they don't even need to go for the full 5-man fight and that they can just win on every front, yeah, it definitely gets you concerned and worried as a Mammoth supporter.
Yeah, it's absolute capitulation of Mammoth there. Unfortunately for them, it's off the back of a win as well. A much needed win for them. A bit of momentum boost, but they've hit the brick wall that is Legacy. They've hit the Titans towards the top of the standings. And they've definitely been hit with the You Shall Not Pass as well. Tough to say what they would even do at this point in this game to do anything. You know, buying time isn't to outscale your opponents. You can see that through the fact that they felt forced to fight at least a little bit. It's just going to be one of those slow deaths.
Oh, look at damage. That is a single Q, and the True Shot Barrage executes it. That is really, if you ever needed a reason to understand how far ahead these people were, that showcased it right there. And they're going to continue with this fight. The Infernal Chains go one down. Quaku just running straight through that one. Does not give any cares in the world about that. And, well, with Baron buff online, they can just continue to push. That's what Tapoon's been doing.
Yeah, one member down. Mid lane priority definitely theirs. Forced, but secured 100%. You know, it took a flash from Raze, but so be it. Teleport from Tally as well. And now they're pressuring bottom at the inhibitor. They're pressuring mid lane at the inhibitor. And Tally's a couple of waves away from doing the exact same thing as well. I mean, what do you do? What can you do except for just feel bad for Babel?
Well, look at the top lane matchup, right? You know, identical build path. Oh, hang on a minute. I've got a Rabs cap as well. Yeah, this is an insanely strong Vladimir right now. Both trading out Flash. The execute's there. He doesn't care. We'll just get inhibitors wherever we want.
Proto Belt to disengage, Skibby.
That's what I mean. He doesn't care.
Did Proto Belt? It's like, yeah, I'm using that one to eject the arena. That's how easy this kill was. Oh, God. Oh, this is dirty.
Looking like our quickest game of the night so far. A convincing one at that. One that does have a clear narrative at this stage. Legacy, clean cut as they can be. They're going to engage with a double Cataclysm. The final chapter comes in there as well, and it surely is the final chapter because Vass is the final member here. Surely going to fall on down to give Tapoon that triple. He's going to go into the fountain for it. He doesn't care, Rusty. Legacy looking for the victory as the first Nexus turret falls on down.
They give a big shutdown over, but I don't think it's going to save the game, unfortunately. Legacy, they're just having fun with this, diving as best they can. Live soon to follow as the ace once again there for Legacy. And they wipe Mammoth.
Back-to-back aces for Legacy here. They are not deterred by Super Weak. They come into this one with a plan, execute it flawlessly. A 14 kill difference. Legacy still the hot favorites here in this matchup.
Skibby, this was the second extinction of the Mammoths. This wasn't even close. This was a nasty game.
Yeah. I don't even know how you sum up that one. Was there really a moment in which Mammoth had a chance to get back into that game?
Had a chance to get back into it? Probably not. They had a couple of good moments, though. You know, there's some things that you should be able to take away from it. They actually consciously lane swapped their Poppy into mid lane against the Aatrox, so they are trying to succeed through the best matchups that they got the gank off in mid lane. You know, Baz once again seemed fine, but you know, once the brakes were put on by Legacy, they just rolled them over.
They did indeed. Legacy, quite happy with that performance there. Definitely showcasing us that upsets aren't the complete narrative today. We will have game number 6 right after this break, so don't go anywhere. Or if you do, keep hydrated, stay healthy. We'll see you very shortly.